Everybody, this is Andrew Guy with Andrew Guy Speaks.com, empowering you to create your greatest impact where you live, where you work, and where you play. I am so excited to be here today. This is the show that you have to participate in. It's interactive. It's my podcast. I'm going live. World, welcome again. Listen, let me go over there and start everything over on Facebook. So let's get busy. We're ready to rock and roll. All right. So we're live on Facebook right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is Andrew Guy with AndrewGuySpeaks.com, empowering you to create your greatest impact where you live, where you work, and where you play. Welcome to this episode of I'm Listening, I Am Ready. It's the podcast for those who are on the go. That's right. Whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea. This is me in the MORNING, Andrew E. Guy. Now, listen, before we start, let me go ahead and start it off and kick it off the official way, the way it's supposed to be done. All right. So let me go ahead and tune up my music, and we are ready to rock and we're ready to roll. All right. So here we go. So we're still continuing the conversation about Are we ready? About the series, the new series. It's different with the car, maybe see. Different with the car. Maybe all right, hold on 1 second. Study of cancer, of hate derails human potential. Hate is something that can derail the human train. That's 2 eyes we got, a nose with L's. Let's think about racism. And all right, 1 second. Let's get this straightened out. Human potential. Let's talk about it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment you've been waiting for. It's a conversation. That's what I'm waiting for. Today and not tomorrow. Welcome to another episode of That's right. I'm Ready with your host, Andrew E. Guy. Let's talk about it. Now. All right, guys, you're ready to rock and roll. That was the intro. Apparently, the cue wasn't queued up properly. A lot of things got messed up. You know how it is with technology. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you know what? It doesn't matter if technology messed up. You got to have the right potential. You got to have the right determination. You got to have the right mission, vision. And guess what? The act steps to make your life count. All right. So will technology mess up every now and again? Yes, it will. Now, should you stop doing what you're doing, you're called to do because something didn't work? No. Teamwork makes the dream work. You've heard it before and you're hearing it here today. Listen, I am really, really excited about what's going to happen here today. This is the first time we actually gone live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube and we're capturing this information and we're trying to get this to you. This is Andrew Guy, Andrew E. Guy, with a live podcast as I'm listening, I'm ready. This is the podcast that's dedicated for those who are on the go. What does that mean? The go means it's time to get up. It's time to go. It's time to make something happen with your life. And that's exactly what we're talking about here. This podcast, basically, it airs on Saturdays at 10 a.m. So this recording didn't record yesterday because I had an interview with an amazing gentleman from out of Jamaica, Mr. David Mullins, and the interview was stupendous. All right. We're going to be launching it very soon and we'll go into post-production and get everything straightened out so audio is nice and crisp so you can hear every bit of what he has got to say. He's throwing down some dimes. He's throwing down some, I would call it, some legendary advice that every person on planet Earth needs to hear. And that is David Mullins of Blue Mahole Capital Investment. And it's simply amazing. We have several other individuals that are coming up on the interviews. We have next week, we have Miss Juanita, and we have Miss Michelle, and then we have Mr. Ian Daly. We have quite a bit of individual that's coming up. We have them coming from legal background, financial background, leadership background. This is exactly where we're going. So it took a while for me to bring all of this together because I want to make sure that I get the right people in place, because I want when you listen and so you get ready to change your life, I want it to be where you're getting something out of this. I want it to be where you're getting the most out of this. I want it to be where you're feeding. I want it to be where you're coming in, you're tapping in. It's not just your typical podcast, you listen, and you just get out of there and go. No, I want you to listen, and I want you to get ready. I want you to take notes, and I want you to be interactive. If you want to send a shout out, I'm cool with it. All right. Another thing that I'm going to try to do is I'm going to make sure that I have like a small PowerPoint. I won't bore you or anything like that, but the PowerPoint is just to give you some information that you can visualize, that you can see it happening in real time. Okay. So what I'm going to show you right now is a small, it's like well, it's a little PowerPoint. It's about 10 page, 10 decks. It's a 10 deck PowerPoint. It's not that big. So, but I want to talk about the topic that we're discussing today. It's called the missing piece. It's called the missing piece. And why do we even need to know about the missing piece? Because I think that a lot of people are going about their everyday, I guess, journey. I call it journey because I think we're all trying to get somewhere. We think we're trying to get somewhere, but a lot of times, based on how we go about the daily actions or daily activities that we do, it end up being what's called a to-do list that never gets done. I'm excited about being here. Again, this is Andrew Guy. If you are listening to me for the first time, go ahead and subscribe. I am out there on YouTube. I am out there on Instagram. I am out there on, where else am I? I'm out there everywhere. All right. I should have gotten my list already made up. But anyway, Instagram. You can find me, Andrew Guy Speaks. You can find me on Twitter, Andrew Guy Speaks. You can find me out there on LinkedIn, Andrew Guy Speaks. You can find me out there at my home. Knock on my door, bang, bang, bang. The front step. What do we call that? Exactly. That is www.andrewguyspeaks.com. All right, enough of the promo, enough of trying to tell people where you at, Andrew. Let's get into the meat of the business here. All right, I really, really want to get into this because listen, what information I'm about to show you here, it really is going to transform your life. All right, so what I need you to do is just to jump right, if you can, jump right into the chat and just give me a shout out. Let me know that you're here. Let me know that you're there. Let me know that you're listening and that you are ready. All right, so we can get right into this talk. All right, if you're there, check me out. If you're not, find me on facebook.com/Andrew E Guy Speaks. Facebook.com/Andrew E Guy Speaks. All right, let's go. All right, so this morning we're really talking about the missing piece. What in the world, Andrew, is the missing piece? What are you talking about when you say the missing piece? What's missing? What's missing in people's life that you feel that they're not getting the most of life? They're not getting, I wouldn't say the most of life, but they're not getting the most of living. Yes, a lot of people misinterpret living and life and being alive. I've said it before that they're different, but they're interconnected. So if I look at my life, life is a gift. It's in a package, right? It's almost like having this envelope here. It's in a package, right? It's wrapped up. I don't know what's in it until I open it. So that's your life. It's a gift. Somebody gave you this envelope. They give it to you. It's a gift. But living is the opening, is the actual opening of the envelope to actually explore what's on the inside of the envelope. If that is making sense to you, if this is helping you, I want you to be active with me today. I want you to drop some message. I want you to drop some vibe, drop some hearts, drop something, drop your thoughts inside the chat line so we can get this conversation going. If you listen to me for the first time, this is Andrew Guy, Andrew E Guy on the podcast. I'm listening, I'm ready. And it's for people that are on the go, whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea. This is me in the MORNING. So today we're talking really about your life. We're talking about what is the missing piece, what's missing in our lives while we just feel like we're going from here to there. We're going everywhere and still not getting anywhere. We're going everywhere, just like a ping ball in that machine bouncing around, and we never get that destination. We never feel like we're fulfilled. We never feel like we're getting meaning from our lives. All right. And so today I want to break some things down to show you exactly what's going on. All right. So here we go. I want to go ahead and I want to share you my screen right here. So let me go through this and I want to share my screen with you. So let me jump back over there on Facebook. All right. So want to start off with the question. What do you think is missing in your life? What do you think is missing in your life? Go ahead and throw something down. So let me go ahead. I'm going to post this. What do you think is the missing piece in your life? Comment on that. All right. Go ahead and comment on that and let me know what's on your mind. All right. Go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. Let me know what's the missing piece you think. What is the missing piece in your life? What is it? That's all right. Go ahead. I can wait a little bit. And then after that, I'm going to keep rocking and rolling. What do you think is the missing piece in your life? Here, I'm going to post a question so you can get this. Add a question. So we'll go over here and I'm going to post this up. All right. Question is already out there. All right. So you guys can go ahead and you can comment on that. Okay. So let me jump back in here quickly. So what's the missing piece in your life? That's what we're asking this morning. What is the missing piece in your life? And how do you find out what it is? And how do you fix it? How do you find out what it is? And how do you fix it? Okay. What's the missing piece in your life? What do you think is missing from your life right now? Go ahead. What do you think is the missing piece in your life? All right. Okay. And let's go. All right, guys. So I'm going to jump over here to my screen right here, and I'm going to start off with this presentation real quick. And I'm going to start off with today's. I'm going to start off with today's quote. Today's quote is asking us. It says, you have to take care of the job of you. Take care or get busy living or doing the job of you, so that you can have what? You can have, I'm listening, I'm ready. All right. So when you take care of the job of you, then you will have the business of yours. That's really what I wanted to hear people say, but not many people understand this quote because it's a quote that's directly coming from myself. So when you get busy taking care of the job of you, then guess what's going to happen? You will have a business of your, because I've heard it before that you are an ink. Mind your own business. Many times we're busy watching other people. We're busy looking outside of the window instead of focusing in the mirrors of our life. So what I want you to do, the purpose of this quote is to get busy. Get busy with the job of yours, job of you, or the job of your life, so that you will have a business of your, or you will have a business of your living. All right. So today our main topic is really talking about what's missing. What's missing? What's the missing piece in our life? Now, when I look at my screen, you should be seeing it too. It says there's a whole bunch of things that are happening. It's like a hodgepodge. People are worrying about finance. People are worrying about diet. People are worrying about what they're eating. People are worrying about what day of the week should I be working out. There's so many things that people become so, their mind becomes so convoluted, so mixed up, congested. It's not clear. It's like they're driving down or always driving down a busy highway and can never get to their exit. And a lot of time we get to the point of our exit and we're not able to get off the highway because it is so jam-packed. And not only that, sometimes we end up on the wrong side of the highway. Instead of being on the right side so we can get off, we're on the left side. And the thing is that being on the right side, being at the right location is almost like most people would say or the realtor would say location, 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 location. On the right side of the highway, you're able to get off, because if we look at living as a highway, we're always going somewhere, we're always in motion. But if we're on the opposite side of the highway, on the left side, that is the advanced lane where people are not getting off the highway. They're there for the long term, on the long haul. But if you're on the right side, that means that you're expecting an exit. If you're on the left side, you're not expecting an exit. The reason why I'm saying is this, because I went to school to Southern Arkansas University. And what I noticed is that every summer I come home to Canada. And when I am coming home to Canada, I'm driving from Arkansas, and I probably won't be in Canada for, let's say, another 2 days, depending on how fast I drive, within the speed limit, by the way. And when I am driving, I realize that if I am in the right side of the lane, that means the exits, they come up more frequently, because it's expecting me to get off the highway or exit the highway sometime very soon. When I travel in the leftist lane of the highway, I realize that I don't run into the exit as often as I would if I was on the right side. Why is that? Because I am not changing lane for a long time. I'm in it for the long haul. Because if I get on the highway at 8 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the morning AM Eastern Standard Time, then I know that I am not looking forward to changing lane or getting off. If I'm getting off for a break, fine. But if I'm on the left lane, I know exactly that it's going to take me about another day or another 24 hours before I actually exit the highway. Okay. Now, what does this mean with your life? We're talking about, we're discussing, we're unpacking, we're hashing out, we're trying to get people to understand, not just to declutter their minds, but to declutter the purpose, the venture, the adventure to discovering what their purpose really is. And so today's topic on the podcast, I'm listening, I'm ready, with your host, Andrew E. Guy, is asking you the question: what is the missing piece? What is the missing piece of your life? What is the missing piece of the purpose puzzle? All right. So as I move through this right here, we asking this. We start off with a quote this morning, and the quote says, "The job of you is the business of yours. The job of you is the business of yours." So what does that simply mean? It is your job. You should make it your business, your job, to actually take care of the business of you. You got to take care of some specific things. And the specific things that we're going to talk about is the wellness wheel. So this morning we're going to talk about the wellness wheel. Some people say it's 6, some people say it's 7, some people say it's 8 compartments to this wellness wheel. But when we think about wellness, it's a totality of everything that you do that makes up your living. I did not say life, I say your living. So I want to give you this to help you understand this wellness wheel. I use it in my everyday life. A lot of people are using it out there. It's out there online. You can look it up. Just look up wellness wheel. And I want you to look at the actual wheel and basically what's happening in your life. What are some things that you're doing in your life that you need to improve upon? What are some things that you're doing in your life that you need to change? What are some things that you're doing in your life that you need to revamp or just completely get rid of? That's what we're going into this morning, and we're talking about the wellness wheel. What's missing? What's missing in your life? If you listen to me for the first time, this is Andrew Guy, Andrew E. Guy. With the podcast, I'm listening, I'm ready, in the MORNING, recording live in the studio. This is Andrew Guy. So I'm excited about what's about to happen right now. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you what's happening. All right. So as I jump back into my PowerPoint, okay, we are talking about the missing piece of the puzzle of purpose, because everyone is trying to find their purpose. And let me go ahead and just break that down for you. I want you to think of purpose as what's in the mind of the creator. I wrote a book called The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community. If you haven't checked this book out, you have got to check this book out. If you have not seen it, check it out. It's out there. It's out there on Amazon.com, or you can even get it on my website, AndrewGuySpeaks.com. Pick up a copy of this book. The title of it is called The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community. It's called Exchanging Religion for a Life of Function and Purpose. Exchanging Religion for a Life of Function and Purpose. As a matter of fact, faith is actually one of the astral pegs or slice or dimension of on the wellness wheel. And I go into much detail about what to look for, how to exchange religion for a life of function and purpose, because religion is not what you need, it's relationship what we need as individuals. Relationship is the key to transforming our spiritual life. All right, so one of the aspect of that on the wheel of wellness is about your faith or spiritual life or spirituality. This is a great book to pick up. If you haven't picked up a copy of it, go out there and get you a copy of it. All right. So the next book that I want to recommend before we get back into our discussion right here is the other one, my other book. It's called Work Your Words. Work Your Words, Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success. And when I write books, I really try to focus on the titles. I want to focus, the message should show up in the title. When I talk about work your words, we're talking about the words that we use every day. A lot of people are using words like can't, like CAN apostrophe T, can't. I've heard Zig Ziglar once said that there is no such thing as a can't. No such thing as a can't. But there's a can though. A can be similar to my cup here. Drinking out of my TEDx cup today. A big shout out to my friends down there at KCVI. I did a TED talk down there, and they sent me a cup last year, June 2019. Had a great time down there at KCVI out there in Kingston, Ontario, and they're the one that gave me this cup. So I'm very thankful. Thank you. I'm sipping out of it right now. All right, let's continue. So, Work Your Words, Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success. Get you a copy. It's a great book. A quick read from the back here said, both failure and success are product of the mind. Therefore, your limitations exist by the way you think, and your world is manifested through the words you speak. Hence, in other words, changing your thinking changes your words, and right speaking changes your way of life. Powerful book. Go check it out. All right. So this morning we're talking about what's the missing piece. If you're joining me for the first time, this is Andrew E. Guy in the MORNING. We're talking about what's the missing piece. What's missing from your life? What is missing from your life? Why are you upset? Why are you perplexed every day? You get up, you don't know what to do. You're trying to figure out what to do. What's missing? We're talking about the missing piece, the puzzle of purpose. That's what we're talking about. And I'm going to jump back into my PowerPoint here, and we're talking about the first quote we gave was that take care of the job of you, and then you will have a business of yours. Otherwise, people would say mind your own business, but you can't just mind your own business because you weren't created to live for yourself, by yourself. You're created by yourself to live for others through the gifts, through your talent, through your skill set, through your expertise that you bring to build community everywhere you go. Well, that's why you were created, right? So you weren't just created just for you. You're created for you, for them, for theirs, and yours. All right, let's jump into the PowerPoint. I had a wonderful conversation yesterday with Mr. David Mullins out of Jamaica and the CEO of Blue Maho Capital Investment. It is powerful. It was an amazing discussion. The show is being edited right now and will be up and running probably a day or two or so, but it was an amazing discussion. It was 2 episodes we did in one shot. I mean, yes, we had technological difficulties, but the information that came out of this conversation with this brother was simply amazing. Gave information on why investing in Jamaica and the luxurious opportunities that are there on the island. that most people don't see. Yes, they hear about the reggae music, they hear about the Bob Marleys, they hear about the reggae artists, the Beanie Man, all those guys, but there's certain things that they're missing that Jamaica has to offer. I'm originally from Jamaica, was born and raised here in Kingston and moved down to St. Ann, born in Jubilee Hospital, but there's so much of Jamaica that I don't know. There's so many things that Jamaica has to have that even the actual native Jamaicans don't even know. And so I want to start bringing on some people that have information, that have expertise in those areas that will be able to open up the discussion so you can get to learn more about my homeland, the land of wood, water, and just like the bold speed. All right. So here we go. So this morning's discussion, we're talking about this wellness wheel. Wellness wheel. When I think of wellness, I want you to think of this acronym. S cubed E. No, let me retake that. I want you to think of S square E square P F. S square E square P and F. What does that simply mean? S square is talking about your spiritual, your social, E, emotional, environment, and P, physical, and F, financial. All of these compartments help to make up the actual wellness wheel. So the question now is, how are you? What is your wellness like? When you look at the different compartments of the wheel, what's your wellness looking like? What is your wellness looking like? Are you well spiritually? Are you well socially? Are you well emotionally? Are you well environmentally? Are you well physically? And are you well financially? All of these are compartments that make up our living. I did not say life, but I say living because, as I mentioned earlier on, there's a difference between your life and your living. So, living basically is how you validate your life. It's opening the package of life, and whatever is in it, you're going to take it, you're going to develop it, and you're going to use it to the best of your ability. We call it your expertise, your skills, your talent. This is what we're talking about, and your gifts. You're going to unpack those and you're going to find out where you fit in this circle of life. And not just the circle of life, but within the marketplace. Because a lot of people get it twisted when they say, well, yeah, Andrew, in the circle of life, I belong in the circle of life. But the circle of life, guys, really has to do with how you serve others in the marketplace. Are you serving them financially? Are you serving them medically or from a health perspective? Are you serving them from a psychological perspective? Are you serving them as a teacher? Are you serving them as a banker? Are you serving them as a legal expert? What area? Are you serving them from an economic perspective? Are you serving them from a civil engineering perspective? Are you serving them in a technological way? There's so many areas of this life or of this marketplace that needs to be filled, right? And I never think it will be filled. It just needs to be occupied. Because if we say, oh, well, it's full, that means then we're really insinuating that there is no vacancy. But there is room at the top, in the middle, there's room everywhere on every aspect of life. And I want you to find out, where do you fit in? So when we talk about purpose, when we talk about finding out what you were created to do, it is about finding out where you actually fit in. This is purpose. And we say that purpose is in the mind of the creator. What do I mean by this, Andrew? I'm not trying to be religious with you, but because spirituality is on the wheel of wellness, it's good for you and it's advantageous for you to understand who you are, where you come from, who created you, by the way. There is a theory out there called the Big Bang theory. All right. It's big, and I don't want to be facetious, but it doesn't add up. Okay. Me personally, I believe that I was created by a greater being, a smarter being, a wiser being. I call him God. Okay. He created me, he created us, me and you, in his likeness. And the reason why I say that likeness, people are saying, well, Andrew, what do you mean? How do you know what God looks like? All right, you want to know what God looked like? Then look at another human being. Is there any other creation on planet Earth where everyone looks the same. It's like a carbon copy. Everyone looks the same. Don't believe me? All right. Have you seen a human being with 3 arms and 3 legs? Speaking of which, Bruce Lee gave this great quote, and he said this. He said, listen to me, guys. The only way that we're different, the only way that we as an individual are different human beings, is if we have 3 arms, 3 legs. That means we'll have a different style. The reason why I came up with this quote, or when he said this on the interview, he said that there are a lot of people that were talking to him and saying that, hey, listen, what is the difference between your style and everybody else? There's karate, there is kung fu, there is Wing Chun, there is all of this. There's Shotokan. There's so many different type of martial arts out there, and they really were trying to corner him and say, well, Bruce, hey, listen, man, I have a different style from you. He said, listen, the only way you have a different style is if you have 3 arms and 3 legs. Then you have a different style because you have a different methodology. But it's one human being. But what he says, in order for us to be successful in our area of expertise, he said we should be like water. Be like water, my friends. Bruce Lee once said. And what does it simply mean? If I hold up my cup here, my little TEDx cup, big shout out to KCVI, all right, out there in Kingston, Ontario. They brought me in to do a TED Talk. And there's several other TED Talks that are in the works right now, have not been finalized, but they're in the works. So I'm going to be doing a few more TED Talks coming up at the end of this year and starting next year. A few TED Talks. That's going to be amazing. So I'm looking forward to it. But in my cup here, I have some kind of a liquid inside there. So as I'm talking, I'm going to drink this liquid to make sure that my throat stays nice and moist so that I don't get the froggies and so forth, right? But it doesn't matter if I turn this cup, if I tilt this cup to the side, if I tilt this cup to the back, if I tilt this cup, it doesn't matter where I tilt this cup. This thing here, the liquid inside here, is going to take the form. Okay, I want you to think of it like that. He says, Bruce Lee said that water crashes. Okay, water will rise also. Water will sink. Water will move to different sides. So what am I saying? He's saying to be like water, because you never know exactly what life is going to throw at you. And so being like water means that you're flexible and you are adaptable. In this life of living, adaptability is the key. Adaptability is the key. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me for the first time, this is Andrew Guy on the podcast. I'm listening. I'm ready. With your host, Andrew E. Guy in the MORNING. We say this podcast is dedicated for those who are on the go. Whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea, doesn't matter. Even if you're traveling by bicycle, you're still on land. If you're traveling by boat, you're on sea. And if you're in the air, listen to me, in the friendly skies, you're still traveling by land, air, or sea. I want you to tune in, download the podcast, listen to me. I want you to go out there and subscribe to me on YouTube. That is Andrew Guy Speaks. I want you to find me out there on LinkedIn, Andrew Guy Speaks. I want you to jump, run, skip, whatever you got to go to do to get over there on the Instagram. Find me out there on Instagram. That is Andrew Guy Speaks. And if you want, find me at the home where the website, the official website of Andrew E. Guy, that is andrewguyspeaks.com. I've given you everything. Get out there, find me, and let's connect on the social media. All right, let's rock and roll. All right, so we are talking about the missing piece today. We're talking about the missing piece. What is missing from your life? What exactly is missing for you to have a sense of purpose, for you to have a sense of meaning in everything that you do? Now, will they all be on the same level? Will you have 100% meaning in your work? Would you get 100% meaning or gratification from your relationships? Will you get 100% from your work? Would you get 100% from your play or your leisure? It might not be. All of these are components of the totality of your living. Remember, I'm saying to you, life and living is two different things. Don't get that twisted. Most people do. They mix up life and living. Life is the gift. Living is unpacking the life that you have, and whatever your expertise is, your skill set, your talent, your gift, you're going to unpack those and find out where they fit in the grand scheme, not of things, but the grand scheme of the marketplace, because you're here to serve a particular industry. You're here to fulfill a particular demand that is needed in the marketplace. Now, why am I talking about the marketplace? Why am I talking about business? Well, Andrew, that's what it's about. It's about commerce and trade. Okay. Now, people are going to ask me, well, Andrew, what does that have to do with your spirituality? What does trade and commerce and business and marketplace? Well, if you look at it nowadays, what's happening within the church is almost like a marketplace. So you go and you will pay your tithes. And for those who are good stewards of the tithes, they will use it to get a bigger stage. You'll use it to get more lighting. They will use it to get equipment. Yes, they'll need the equipment so they can get out there and to meet and to reach other people. There's no doubt about that. But I think a lot of people have made the focus the wrong thing. And so now the church, so to speak, is more about the building instead of the people. All right. There's a lot more to come on that. If you want to find out what's going on with that, do check out my book, The Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community. This book right here, it's the book that you're going to need. I'm going to flip it upside down right now so you can see it. This is the book that you're going to need right here, Anatomy of the Kingdom and the Power of Community. All right. Want to exchange religion for a life of function and purpose, because that's what it's about. Because if you have religion and don't have any relationship, you literally don't have anything. You really don't have anything. And I know there are a lot of people who are going to church, who are praying, have been praying and going to church for many, 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 many years. And when you look at their life, it doesn't add up, because if we serve a God that owns everything, and he said, you can have whatsoever thing you want, right? Just ask, you have what you say, then why are we not having it? Why are we not seeing our faith? Why are we not seeing the abundance? Why are we not seeing and experiencing purpose? Why are we not experiencing meaningfulness? Why are we not walking in forgiveness? These are so many things that there are questions to, and many people do not have the answers for these questions. My goal here today is to help you to understand that there are answers for these particular questions that you have. There are solutions to these problems that you have. There are an end to these means that you're trying to put and stitch together. Okay. We're using this discussion today. We're talking about the wellness wheel, the missing piece. We're calling it what? The puzzled purpose. There's so many people are convoluted in their minds and they really don't have a clue what they should do. I remember specifically, I was doing a presentation on work-life enrichment at a particular bookstore, at an Indigo bookstore. And there was another gentleman, he was actually in the coffee shop adjacent to where I was doing the presentation. And the man got up from his seat, came over to where I was doing the presentation, and he said, listen, I have worked, I have retired, I've done all that I wanted to do for my family, but now I don't know what else to do. I feel like I've just been working, and I have nothing to show for it. There is no meaning to what I'm doing right now, and I want to find out what should I be doing. He came over, another good friend of mine, Steve Anderson. He's now the deputy mayor of, I want to send a big shout out to Steve. Steve, if you're watching, if you're listening, man, big shout out to you and all the support over the years. And if you don't know who Steve Anderson is, he's the deputy mayor of Shelburne, Ontario, a growing town. A lot of people of color who lives up there from Africa. I'm talking about Jamaica, the West Indies. It is a booming town and it's going to be the trendsetter for the community mindset people, and they're doing an amazing job up there. So big up to my brethren, as we say back in Jamaican days, in the Jamaican tongue, in the patois. Big up my brethren, Steve Anderson, all the way up there in Shelburne, Ontario, deputy mayor. All right, so let's rock and roll. So when we talk about this whole aspect of the wellness wheel, there's so much to hash out. Remember, we're using the acronym for the entire wellness wheel as in S square, E square, P, and F. S square, that means there are two compartments to that S. So that means S is spiritual and social. E square is emotional and environmental. P is for physical, and F is for your financial. All right, are we ready? If you're ready, let's go ahead and break this down so you can get this. All right. Spiritual. We talked a bit about spiritual because a lot of people, they really think it's about going to church. Something is really, really, really missing. Okay, so I'm going to give you something else that I want you to think about when we talk about spiritual. I'm looking at this chart here right now, and most people misunderstand. And they say that according to this chart here, a download of the internet, it said it is the ability to establish peace and harmony in our lives. It's the ability to establish peace and harmony in our life, the ability to develop congruency between value and action, and to realize our common purpose that binds creation together, contributes to our spiritual wellness. That's a great definition. But I want to give you something that's more practical. I want to give you something that you can actually take with you, that you can actually put into action. So when we talk about spirituality, we are spirit being. We didn't just happen. We didn't just have one of those big boom bang and a theoretical jargon spits out of the mouth and then they say that's what you are. No, when we talk about spirituality, it's us, it's our being. If you take away the flesh, the bone, the tissue, the subcutaneous tissue, the fascia, if you take away the largest organ in our body, which is basically our skin, and if you dig deep down into the subcutaneous, we talk about muscle, we're talking about fat cells. If you take away all of these things, the nerves, everything, what are you left with? You are left with the spirit. Here's an example. Think of it as a house. A house. I know of an individual or several individuals who have lived in houses before and they've moved. Okay, so let's look at a house where somebody was living in and everything was great. Do you know that house is alive when people are in there? There's a spirit there. There is shouting. There is voice. There is expressions on the wall based on the things that are hung up around the house and the decoration. There is a spirit inside there, or various spirits that are inside that house based on the amount of family members that are living in there. But have you ever noticed that once that person moved out of that house almost seemed like a graveyard? It seems spooky. Stuff started growing, mold and all those different things. Everything else that you can think of comes in and take over this place. Why? Because no one else is living there. So when we talk about spirit or spirituality, it is a connection between who we are as individuals dwelling on earth and a relationship with the one who created us. That's spirituality. Now, making it practical is saying that I know who I am as a spirit being dwelling in a human or a clayed shell, meaning that an earth suit, one speaker once said. Earth suit meaning that this is just clay, this is just dirt. From my background knowledge of how we were created, it didn't just happen. So because of this now, I have a spirit being on the inside of me. Okay, I'm losing a few people. I'm losing a few people. Come on back. Come on back. Let me break this down. The spirit is just like having a motor vehicle. The spirituality is like having a motor vehicle with an engine. You can have the best Mercedes Benz, the Bugatti, or even the fastest car on planet Earth, or the fastest motor vehicle on Earth. That is just the shell of the thing. It's just the shell. It doesn't matter what kind of paint job it has. It doesn't really matter what kind of rims it have, whether the rims spin when you stop, the spree wheel. It doesn't matter if you have a tricolor paint job or one that changes color when you stop. It doesn't matter if you get the point that I'm trying to make, right? It doesn't matter. It's just the body. It's just a shell. Without an engine, that car or motor vehicle will not go anywhere. Now, here's the crazy part. I know what you're saying. So, Andrew, so you're saying to me that spirituality is like having a car or a motor vehicle with the engine. So the engine would represent the spirit of the car. Does it make sense? And so the spirit have to be tuned up. It got to be in the right tuning for the actual car to move, right? Exactly. That's what I'm trying to make it more practical so you can understand. We are spiritual being. Our body is just the earth suit, just like the body of the car. So when a person dies, then their spirit exit the body. So there is no longer a spirit living inside the shell, the earth suit of the body. So what you have is a person that is dead, a body without life or spirit is simply dead. So that's what's happening. If you take the engine out of the car or out of the motor vehicle, it's not going to run. You need both of them. You need the spirit inside the body to occupy the body. And this relationship between the spirit and the physical and the connection between the creator, being aware that you are created and that there is a creator and that your wisdom, your intellect, all of these different things, the expertise, everything came from somewhere. Everything is almost like a computer. A computer has a hard drive, it has a motherboard that processes all that information, has a processor. But if you don't have a processor and you have a wonderful computer, it's a hybrid. I'm talking, it has everything that you need, but it doesn't have a processor. It doesn't have anything. The processor, in other words, I'm giving you all of these metaphors so you can make sense of what's happening. So when you look at your life, I want you to think that the processor would be the spirit. I want you to think that the processor will be the spirit actually of that computer or PC or whatever you want to call it, or a Mac. The engine that's inside the car will be the actual spirit of the motor vehicle. They both need to come together to work in essence. This is why relationship is key. It's not about religion, it's about relationship. There's a relationship between the spiritual and the physical. If there's no relationship between the spiritual and the physical, then guess what? Then there cannot be any life and there cannot be any living. This is why we have got to have a relationship with the creator. All right. It's almost like, a lot of people say, oh, I just had a thought. I just had a thought. You didn't just have a thought, right? If you are aware of your surroundings, if you are aware that there is a creator that gives information, it's almost like he's downloading information on your mental hard drive. Then when you process this information through that relationship through him, then you understand that the wisdom and all of these different things that are happening to you that you experience come directly from the manufacturer. Okay. Now, Andrew, what does praying have to do with anything? Well, praying is basically conversation with you, between you and your creator. Now, a lot of people say, well, what about if I pray in tongues or something like that? And now that's called a heavenly language. So people say, well, Andrew, I don't believe that there's such thing as a heavenly language. Okay, what are you talking about? Let me make it practical. Before I go, let me give a big shout out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew Guy with AndrewGuySpeaks.com, and you're listening to the podcast. I'm listening. I'm ready. If this is your first time, please check us out. Visit me over there on Instagram. That is Andrew Guy Speaks. I want you to connect with me on Facebook. That's the only place that we're different. That's Andrew E. Guy Speaks. If you're listening, if you're trying to get connected with me on Facebook, if you want to check me out, I'm also there on Twitter, Andrew Guy Speaks. I'm also on LinkedIn, Andrew Guy Speaks. Go ahead and visit me and sign up for a newsletter so we can send you out some information and when we're having our new episodes so you can get connected with us. All right. You're listening to the podcast of I'm Listening, I'm Ready with your host, Andrew E. Guy. This podcast is dedicated to those who are on the go. Whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea, this is me, Andrew E. in the MORNING. Purpose of this podcast is to empower you so you can listen, give you information that you can listen to so you can get ready and put your life in motion. That's what it's about. We talk about things about where you live. We talk about things about where you work. We talk about things about where you play. What does that simply mean? Those are the three areas that we cover. where you live, where you work, and where you play. What does that simply mean, Andrew? Give me a rendition. Give me a short definition or synopsis of what you're talking about. Where you live is the environment that is conducive to you growing and nurturing a family. Could be your wife, your husband, your spouse, your children, your dog, whatever you do. Where you live is the environment that you create that is conducive to growth. That's exactly where you live. Now, does it have to be in a house? Does it have to be in an apartment? Can it be anywhere? It's anywhere. Did you hear what I'm saying? It's the environment that you create. It's anywhere. Can you be driving down the street, have your family in the car, have your children in the car, and you're having a home moment? Yes, you can. You can be driving down, you turn around, Billy's, Susie, knock it off back there. You're living. Home is where the heart is. Home is where the environment is. A house is not the same as a home. A house is a location. That's all it is. Okay. Now, where you work is where you serve your expertise, whether you're a banker, lawyer, doctor, a nurse, a civil engineer, what else can a teacher, whatever, construction person, doesn't matter. This is how you serve your gifts to the world. This is how you actually meet the need or the demand in the marketplace. That's where you actually work. So work is actually meeting the needs of the marketplace. Now, where you play is self-care, is what you do, is anything and everything that you do to maintain your wellness. Now, what am I talking about here? Well, there can be physical wellness, there can be spiritual wellness, there can be financial wellness, there can be what? There can be environmental wellness, it can be emotional wellness, it can be social wellness. So always remember this acronym: S square, E square, PF. S square, spiritual, social, E square, emotional, environment, and P, physical, and F, financial. All right. So all of these is any and everything that you do to take care of your health and wellness. That is where you play. Because I want to let you know that if some of these things are out of whack, there won't be any playing. There will be stress. There will be problems. There will be heartaches. There will be disappointments. There will be setbacks, not setups. There will be setbacks, and you won't get to make it over the next hurdle. There's depression. There is fear. Any one of these wellness things on the wheel of wellness is what we're talking about today, the missing piece, the puzzled purpose. That's what we're talking about today. If you're joining me for the first time, any one of these things are out of whack, guys, I'm telling you, you're going to have a problem. Okay. If your finances are out of whack, you're going to have a problem. If something is wrong with your physical house, your earth suit, you're going to have a problem. Don't believe me? Take a drive all the way down to the hospital or to your nearest ICU. Oh, by the way, this COVID is out there. COVID is real. It's killing people. You don't think it's killing people? Don't wear your mask. Don't take care of yourself and see what happened. Don't isolate yourself. You have to make sure you're doing your part, because when something happens, you can't just say, oh, I'm believing by faith that I'm not going to get sick. You're a fool if that's what you're doing. Wisdom, it calls for wisdom to make sure you're doing your part. Wash your hand. I can't believe that they're telling people wash their hands. That should be a no-brainer. That should be something that we do. That's second nature. That's basically hygiene. So what it's come down to is simply this, that if you practice proper hygiene, then you can save your life and you can save somebody else's life. Isn't that amazing? So proper hygiene, wash your hands. I'm talking washing properly. Keep a distance if you don't know those individuals. Quarantine yourself if you feel as if you come down with something or you feel that you caught something. It seems as if, this COVID is almost like they're playing baseball or something like that, or a sport where they have to hit and catch. It's like, oh, I caught something. Have you ever heard that before? I caught the common cold, as if somebody's going around throwing the cold around, or somebody's going around throwing COVID around. Stop catching stuff. Get a baseball and go for a hit and hit a home run. All right? Stop sitting there talking about, oh, I caught this. Oh, I don't want to catch this. Then protect yourself. Keep your distance. If you don't have to get out of your house, stay in your house. But then you definitely need to get out of your house. Go in your backyard or something. Go to the park. Put on your mask. I've posted a couple of videos about me being out there in the park rollerblading and doing different things and so forth. Don't shut your life down. You can go for a jog, put a mask on and stuff, and go for a jog. It's actually good for you to go out there and do, because this is part of the wellness wheel, right? Get out there and do some things, but protect yourself. Don't be stupid with it. All right. That's all I'm trying to say. That's the health advice that I'm throwing out there for you today, because people are simply dying. Now, it's unfortunate because this stuff was created by people in a lab. That's my belief. And the research is saying the same thing. And a lot of people try to, I guess, keep it from the public. And by the time that it got to a point where they couldn't control it, thousands of people were dying. All right. So what I'm saying to you, you don't know what the next person have. I'm not trying to incite fear in you, but I want you to understand, use wisdom. When you go to the mall, don't walk and drag your hand down on the escalator or on the rail. Hey, if you gotta go Michael Jackson, man, I'm talking, go ahead and do what you got to do, man. Go ahead and do what you got to do. Wear some gloves or something like that. It might not be the ones with the rhinestone on it, but get you some gloves or something like that, man. Get you some gloves, and also put on your mask. Back in the day, Michael Jackson was wearing this mask for many, 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 many days, many months. And he was wearing this on tour. And people were looking at him like he was weird. And I'm like, dude, this guy probably knew something that we didn't know. And nowadays, everyone is rocking the Michael Jackson. They're wearing a mask, man. So take care of yourself, all right? That's my advice. This is Andrew Guy with AndrewGuySpeaks.com, empowering you to create your greatest impact where you live, where you work, and where you play. If you listen to me for the first time, you listen to me on the podcast of I'm Listening, I'm Ready, with your host, Andrew E. Guy. It's the podcast that is dedicated to those who are on the go, on the GO. And if you're traveling by land, air, or sea, you can hear me. Download our podcast, download our app so you can get this information on your app so you can always be in tune with what's happening. So we're talking today about the missing piece. What is the missing piece of the puzzled purpose? Most people don't know what they were created to do. Most people don't know what they were supposed to do in their life. Some people don't even know what they're good at. They don't know. So how are we going to solve this problem? How are we going to fix this? We have to understand the wheel of wellness. And that's what we're talking about today. We said if you don't know what the wheel of wellness is, a quick way for you to remember is simply this. Remember this acronym: S square, E square, PF. S square, spiritual, social. E square, emotional, environmental. P is physical. F is your financial. All right. I beat that horse down to the pulp. So if you don't get it now, listen, you need to go out there and check it out. Look for wellness wheel. There's so many of them out there. Some people say that there's 6 compartment. Some people are saying that there are 8 compartment. And some people are saying that there are 7 compartment. Some people leave off spirituality, and some people leave out environment. It just depends on what you're looking for. But me personally, I believe that if you have that S square, E square, P, and F, then I think that just about covers it. Will there be more? Yes, there are sub-compartments too, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're focusing on that spiritual aspect of the wellness wheel. We're saying to you, how do we know exactly who we are, what we were created to do? And I'm saying to you that the Creator has created you. There's a greater being. We didn't just happen because of some Big Bang theory. We were created. And a lot of people challenge me on this. They're saying, okay, well, Andrew, what are you talking about? Who created us? Who is this God? Who is this man up in the sky? There's no man up in the sky, because if that's the case, then he's like a cloud and he's going to rain soon, right? It's not about some man in the sky. He is God. He's everything. He created this. And I'm not trying to be religious here. I'm trying to focus on relationships as opposed to religion, because religion, whether you're Baptist, Buddhist, monk, I don't care what the other titles that you have out there, Anglican, it doesn't matter. Catholic, doesn't matter. All of those I look at as labels. I look at those as labels. Now you say, Andrew, well, isn't that being a little ridiculous? I said, no, it isn't being a little ridiculous. Think of it like this. Let's say I have a shirt I'm wearing my orange shirt today. In Jamaica, we call it orange. So all of my Jamaican massive out there, big up, okay? All of my Jamaican friends out there, all of my Jamaican fans out there, big up. And big up is another one saying, it's like saying to a person, hey man, be happy, be joyful, and much respect. That's exactly what that's about. All right. So if you don't know, go and ask somebody, go look it up, what big up mean in Jamaican language. I mean, hey boss, I see you, much respect. All right. That's what's going down. So today I'm wearing my orange. That's what we say. Orange shirt. All right. If you're Jamaican and you understand the word orange, it's the same thing as orange. Okay. So for the non-Jamaican speaking, it really just simply mean orange. Okay. So it's a color orange. That's different from orange. So orange is the same as orange. And if you speak French, it's orange, right? So, I've just give hey, that's what the Jamaican language is based on, patois. Three languages is one: French, Spanish, and English. All right, the different times when we were colonized. So that's how this language came about. Okay, let's rock and roll. So we're about 1 hour into it right now, and we're still talking about the wellness wheel. We're talking about the missing piece, what's missing from your life. We go into much detail. This podcast section, this segment is jam packed because we talked about the difference between spirituality. We talk about the difference between your life. We talk about the difference between living. We talk about being alive. We talked about relationship, the importance of relationship versus a religion. And I did refer some resources to you, my two books, The Anatomy of the Kingdom and The Power of Community, and the other one, Work Your Words and Finding Your Pathway to Personal Success. Know that I want you to understand that my next book is on the way. It is coming. So many things have happened because of COVID and some other things that I'm working on. Had a death in the family this year, but hey, I'm not stopping there. We're still rocking and rolling. So that has slowed down the production of the book, but the book is on the way. Next couple of months, it should be up and ready, and pre-orders will start going out. So you will get the link. All right. You want to get some more information about that? Go over there, run, fly, jump, hop, whatever you got to do. Get over there to andrewguyspeaks.com. That is www.andrewguyspeaks.com. Get some information. Sign up for the newsletter so you can be on the mailing list. So whenever something is off and popping, whenever something new is coming up, whenever I have some new announcement, I'll send that out to you. All right. So that's what I want you to say. I want you to get. All right. Let's continue. So on this segment, we're talking about the wellness wheel, and we focusing today on the spirituality of the wellness wheel. It is basically acknowledging that this is only flesh, this is only an earth suit, it is dirt, but the inside part of you, the greatest part of you, is really the spiritual part of you. We made the analogy to a metaphor of the engine and the motor vehicle. We also use the analogy of the chip within the computer, the processor chip, versus the actual motherboard and the actual physical casing of the computer. We're saying without the actual processor, which would represent the spiritual aspect of the computer, then the computer will not perform. The computer will not work. But we also said, I also said, the most important aspect or part of your life is not the religious part. The religion is just like a label. And we saying that the label can be like what's on a shirt. Let's say I have an orange shirt, and I take a marker and I just went like this and I draw like a check mark. Many people, if they see that on a t-shirt, they would think what? Exactly, Nike, right? And the list goes on. There are a plethora of other name brands and brands that are out there. As soon as you see them, you know that's the product of that particular industry or our marketing company, right? You know that. And that's exactly what religion is to me. When I look at religion, I look at all these a label. Now, Andrew, aren't you being a little divisive here? No, heck no, I'm not being divisive here. Let me tell you exactly what's happening. These different forms of religion basically is, if we look at it from a geological perspective, right? I'm coming, trust me, I'm going to dig deep, but I'm going to have to give you some information here. My background is in science, right? So I was a science major and also a science teacher. And as we study the planet, we study the earth, we were told, based on research, that the earth was just one big of something, right? Called Pangea, right? It was a big fist. And then after a while, then the water basically break up the surface of the earth, and then it separates, and you have all of these different countries. So there's a, I guess they believe that there was or a time when you could just walk to Africa, or you could just walk to the other country. Basically, I'm just paraphrasing right here, okay? Just like how Europe is, you can drive from one place to the next and get into another country. From France to Paris, all these different places, you can just drive across the border. So they were saying it was all one big conglomerate, and then it just subdivided, and then water filled those places. And instead of just walking over to the other part of the land, now you have to take a boat, or you have to take an airplane and fly across. So now the distance basically increased. It's the same thing, guys. Is one God that created us. But here's the crazy part to this, is that we were one. Okay, but then all of these different religions started popping up, and because we used to be one, then we now separated and we're no longer together. So we have our own different traditions, we have our own different beliefs, and it pushes us further and further and further away. Instead of having a fist, instead of creating a fist so we can create an impact, we're now giving high fives, walking around high fives. None of the fingers are together. We're all spread out in our little corner doing our own little thing, worshiping our own little individual gods. And we look at other people, we discriminate against other people because of what they look like, because of their religion, the type of clothes that they wear. And so all of these now factors come into play, and we call this religion. If that's what it is, I don't want none of that. Okay, because religion basically is subdividing people into little groups, and not only dividing them, once they divide them, they got to put a label on them, and they put a label on them, and they call them so and so. Even within the actual faith, Christian faith, there are people who say that if you actually go to church on Sunday, or go to church on Saturday, then you're going to heaven, or you're not going to heaven. I mean, who are you to decide who's going to heaven? Some people say that if you're not for example, a Seventh-day Adventist, if you worship on Sunday, then you're not as righteous as the person. I mean, listen, the Apostle Paul once put it like this, I'm gonna paraphrase it. He said, listen, don't worry about the people who talk bad about you because of your day of worship. Don't worry about the people who talk about you, or talk about you because of the type of food that you actually eat, or the type of clothes that you actually wear. There is one God. And you want to know, I'm going to break this down a little bit more. If you want to know if there's one God, I want to use practical things that you never really think about. One God would signify that there is one sky. Let's look at it like that. How many skies do we have? One sky, right? All right. You sure? One sky. Okay, good. So if I am in Canada, I am underneath the same sky. The same, how many sky? One sky. And then I leave Canada and I go to Africa. That's another continent on planet Earth. Is this another sky that I'm under? Am I under another sky? No, I'm under, yeah, you got it, one sky. Now, let's say, for example, I'm adventurous and I want to go somewhere. So I said, man, I've never been to Europe before. I'm going to Europe. So I'm going to leave Africa and then I'm going to go to Europe. I go to Europe now. Guess what? Am I under the European sky, or am I just under a sky or the sky? That's exactly what I want you to understand. One God, one sky. It doesn't matter where you travel on planet Earth. It's the same sky. It's the same sky. It's the same thing. All of these are simply religions, different form of religion, different form of philosophies, different form of practices that make people feel secure, that bring security to people, meaning to people, the way they see life and understand life. All of these are nothing but labels. I'm going to go a little deeper. I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that Bruce Lee once said that the only way that will have a different style is if we have 3 arms and 3 legs. But if you look around, you can see that everyone has 2 legs and 2 arms. Therefore, we are one human being that do things differently. Does that make sense? I am also trying to let you see that because there is one God who created us, there isn't a human that has the eye in the forehead. All this basically is conjured by other people. There isn't a person that have 3 arms. We all look alike, and it doesn't matter where we go on earth. We all look alike. Now you say, Andrew, but some are white and some are dark skinned, or some are brown, or some yellowish tan. Well, when you look at these different variation of skin tone, this is all because of where you're located on planet Earth. Okay, most of people who are dark skin or black come from an African background. This is where black people came from. So you're closer to the equator. People who are not as close to the creator, or basically are farther away from the equator, have a lighter skin. They have a different hair texture. But didn't God figure this all out before? Yes, he did. So there is one God. Doesn't matter where you go, there's going to be one sky. Okay, doesn't matter where you go, there's only one human race. We have different variation though in terms of skin tone, but they all got the same thing. They got a gastrocnemius, they got an anterior tibialis, they have quads, they have abdominis rectus, abdominis transverse, abdominis oblique. They have a heart. They have 4-chambered heart. I don't see anybody out there has a 10-chambered heart. They all get the same blueprint. That should be a wake-up call to let you know it's the same creator, a same manufacturer creating his goodness in people, are making his mark on planet Earth so you get it. That's what I want you to get. Here is another demonstration. Here, metaphor. Here is another example. When you think about a car, they all have 4 wheels, right? Some cars make some bigger vehicles like a truck or a cube van may have, let's say, 6 wheels or something like that. But don't they all have the same blueprint, that they have an engine, they have a body, and the goal of them basically is to be used as a tool to get you from point A to B and to carry or transport things? That's the purpose of the car. And that's why I said to you earlier on that the purpose of the creator is in the mind of the creator. That's why purpose, the purpose of the living entity or the purpose of you, is in the mind of the creator. And a lot of people get busy looking at everyone else instead of looking at themselves. I like to call him the great. The great Michael Jackson once sang a song and said, I'm talking to the man in the mirror. The man in the mirror basically is focusing on you. A lot of people get busy looking out the window and they're not seeing the actual mirror inside their house or in their hearts. They need to take a look at themselves and then make the change before they go to the window and look out. The window is the metaphor, always looking outside of yourself at other people, blaming people, looking for reasons and why you have an excuse for treating other people the way you do. Racism is another form of religion. I know I said it, and a lot of people are like, Andrew, what you talking about, man? Racism is another form of religion. Anything that separates people, anything that separates humanity, guys, it is a form of religion. I don't care how you flip it. I don't care how you twist it. I don't care how you look at it. Anything that separates humanity, anything, is a form of religion because they can justify it. I mean, there are a lot of people who justify the master and slave mindset because it said so in the Bible. Slaves should obey their master. And they use that same quote. The slave master, the oppressionist, use that same quote decade after decade to oppress a certain group of people. Some people say that if your nose is straight, if you're from Europe, if you have a certain look, a certain build, then guess what? You are fit for leadership. How do we come up with this garbage? This is the mindset that's actually killing a lot of people, that have killed millions of people. I want to let you know that from a spiritual perspective, we're talking about the wellness wheel today, and we're going all the way. So this is a 7 series. a 7 series discussion that we're talking about here. We're talking about the wellness wheel. The wellness wheel is the different compartment. Think of it as a pizza with different slices. Think of it as a medium pizza with 8 slices. And all of these different compartments on there help to make up the one pizza, to make it whole. That's what it's about. We say that the easy way to actually remember the wellness wheel is that it's going to be S square E squared P F. S square, spiritual, social, emotional, environmental, physical, financial. We say that if there's any discrepancy or any imbalance in these particular area, then you're going to have trouble. You're going to have stress. You're going to have difficulties in life. Now, there are difficulties everywhere. There are difficulties everywhere. But if you checked, you will notice that there's an imbalance in one or more of these particular areas of your life. And if so, you need to fix it, because what we're talking about, we talk about the missing piece. What's missing? The missing piece of the puzzled purpose is that some kind of imbalance is happening in your life, but you haven't addressed it. A lot of people run to church. A lot of people run to a building church and they're still hurting. A lot of people go to a building church because they're looking for religion, because the religion is what separates people, and they're looking for religion, and the religion does not fill that void. You know why this is true? Because people are church hopping. They go from one church to the next looking for a quick fix. It's like spiritual, they're looking for a spiritual high. They're looking for a spiritual fix. And that's exactly what it is. They're looking for a fix spiritually, because it's a spiritual part of them that is missing something, and they're trying to fix it by going to get themselves inoculated by all of these different practices. Many of them will go to a particular religion. Some of them are becoming Buddhist, monk, all of these different ones, Catholic, Anglican, all of these, they go to all of these different faiths, right? And they're using them as a way to fill that gap. But you know what they're missing? They're missing the relationship part of this thing. The spirituality is not about religion. It is about a relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to me for the first time, this is Andrew E. Guy on the podcast. I'm listening, I'm ready, with your host, Andrew E. Guy. This podcast is dedicated for those who are on the go, whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea. This is Andrew E. Guy in the MORNING. Had a great conversation yesterday with a good friend of mine from out of Jamaica, David Mullins of Blue Maho Finance. Blue Maho Finance. I'm telling you, when we talk about Blue Maho, by the way, it is the Jamaican national tree. It's the national tree of Jamaica, Blue Maho. And what I learned from Mr. Mullins yesterday is that it's the fastest growing tree in the world. Doesn't matter what happened. It is the fastest growing tree in the world. And the wood is very strong. And so that's why he named this company the Blue Maho, because it's the fastest growing industry that he's thinking from a metaphorical perspective. And he said this is strong because they built their foundation on longevity. And this tree is very strong, and it's been around for many years, and it will always keep growing because it's the fastest growing tree. It replicates itself at a higher rate than most other trees. Okay, so that's a conversation that's coming up very, very soon. It was an amazing conversation. I had a great time, and I'm telling you, it was rocking. Okay, it was intense. I'm telling you, not only was it intense, we had some big laugh because he's from Jamaica and I'm from Jamaica also. So we had some really good talk, as we say back home, a good talk that we had. Nice talk, everything big up, see? And for my Jamaican people, if you're out there listening to me, hey, listen, you listen to Andrew Guy on the podcast. I'm listening, I'm ready. I am the host, and I come on at 10 a.m. in the morning on Saturdays in the morning. I had the interview yesterday with Mr. Mullins, so that filled that spot yesterday. So we're doing a live feed right now, a live stream right now to get everyone to understand this is what's happening, to get the word out, to let people know, hey, we are here. We are here. What? The podcast with Andrew E. Guy. What's it called? Eiler Podcast. What is it called? I'm listening. I'm ready. That's the podcast. The podcast is dedicated for those who are on the go. Today, we're talking about what's missing, the missing piece of your life. And then we broke it down. We said the missing piece of your life, hyphen, the puzzled purpose. A lot of people, their mind is just convoluted, their mind is just congested, and they don't know where to go because they don't know what to do. The goal of this episode is to help you untangle, help you clear your mind so you can get an understanding of what's happening around you. We're also focusing on the one part of the actual wheel, one segment of the wheel, and we're talking about your spirituality because it is a part of the wheel that is causing a lot of destruction in many parts of the world. Many parts of the world. That, my friend, is a pandemic that needs to be addressed. Okay. Why? We're saying that people are using religion and the label of religion to separate themselves from other people, to put down other people, to discriminate against other people because of what they look like. I'm not here to tell you if you want to go and worship a cow, if you want to go and worship a monkey, if you want to go worship a stone, if you want to go worship the clouds, if you want to, in essence, if you want to go worship things. I'm not, who am I to tell you not to? That's your choice. Everyone is given choice. But what I want you to understand is that there is something greater, because if you worship the thing versus the person who created the thing, and then you're doing yourself a disservice. It's like me saying that I drive a Ford Explorer, right? So it's like me saying that I am going to worship the Ford Explorer, or I'm going to give props, I'm going to give accolades to the Ford Explorer, the truck itself, instead of giving the credit to Henry Ford, the one who originated or came up with the name Ford, who created the brand of Ford. It's backward. It's backwards. If we create something just from our own intellect and then we worship the thing that we create, then we are missing the boat. We're missing the boat and we're stuck at shore, standing on the sand of loss, standing on the sand of I have no idea, standing on the sand of lack, standing on the sand of confusion, hoping to get out there to ride the waves of life. What do I simply mean? All this is kind of metaphorical, but I like to give you the metaphorical perspective, the theoretical perspective, and then give you the practical perspective of this. I'm saying to you, a lot of you guys are waiting on religion to fix your life, but that's not what it's about. Religion will never fix your life. Relationship does. Now, how does this relationship fix your life, Andrew? I'm going to break it down. I'm going to be on for about another 10 minutes and then I'm going to shut this down because we're going into about 1 hour and 22 minutes and 45 seconds right now. We're going to chop these up into different segments so you can get it instead of you trying to, I guess, swallow all of this, because it's deep, it's thick, it's compact, and it have to be broken up so you can get a full understanding of what's happening here. So why is relationship the thing, Andrew? What are you talking about? Let me help you. You remember earlier on, I was talking about the computer, I was talking about the chip, I was talking about the motherboard, and I was talking about the hard drive, and I was talking about the casing. You remember that? Okay, hold that. Keep that thought in mind. I was also talking about the automobile. I was talking about Henry Ford, and then I was talking about the engine, and then I was talking about the chassis, and then I was talking about the body, and I was talking about the paint job. You remember that? Okay, keep that thought in mind. Now let's break this down. If religion, which is a label, was the thing or the end all or what's going to save you, then anybody who is a Christian is going to heaven. Yes? Raise your hand. Good job. Can I get an amen on that? Most people would say. Now, if everyone who was Catholic is going to heaven, that means everyone else who is not Catholic would be going to hell, right? Okay. All right. If everyone who is a monk or a Buddhist, right, goes to heaven, that means everyone else would be going to hell, right? Or doom, right? Stay focused. If everyone, and going a little deeper now, if everyone who worships on Saturday were the only people that are going to heaven, that simply means if you worship on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday, that means you are doomed. You got a problem, all right? And you are on the shore and you've missed the boat, right? Hold that thought. I want to show you it is not about the label of religion. It is the function of your relationship. This is why this book is so key. This is why you've got to pick up a copy of this book. Not trying to sell you anything, but if the information is available and you don't tap into it, if you don't get it, then you are missing something huge. You've got to pick up a copy of this book. The anatomy of the kingdom. The anatomy is the shell. The anatomy is the physical body. The anatomy is what you see. But what you experience from other human beings is the spiritual mindset. You see the anatomy, but you experience the spiritual mindset. That's what I want you to understand. So religion is basically looking at the external. It's looking at the label. All of those are labels and they're comparative. It's almost like saying good, better, and best. Well, sometimes you're good, but then good is not good enough. And somebody would say, but they're the best, right? But somebody say, but whoa, well, I'm better. So all of those are comparative. And the goal of all of these is to separate people. Does that make sense? Relationships now. Let's talk about that. Before we get into that, let me just give a quick shout out. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Andrew Guy with AndrewGuySpeaks.com, empowering you to create your greatest impact where you live, where you work, and where you play. Welcome to another episode of I'm Listening, I'm Ready. It's the podcast that's dedicated to those who are on the go. Whether you're traveling by land, air, or sea, this is me, Andrew E. Guy in the MORNING. Thank you for joining me. If you want to connect with me on social media, jump, run, skip, hop, whatever you got to do, get over there on the Instagram and look me up. That's Andrew Guy Speaks. Run over there, fly over there, jump, hop, take a plane, whatever you got to do. Get over there on the Twitter. It's Andrew Guy Speaks. Run over there and get connected in the LinkedIn, and it's the same. It's Andrew Guy Speaks. Now, the only place where everything is different is on the face with the book. That's right. On Facebook, everything is different. That is Andrew E. Guy Speaks. All right. That's my Facebook page. Check me out. Like me. Whatever you got to do, subscribe to me on YouTube. Let's get this connection going. And if you can't find me for whatever reason, you need to go over there to Amazon.com and pick up a copy. Look for me, Andrew E. Guy, or go to my home, knock on the front door, bang, 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 bang. What is my official website? That is www.andrewguyspeaks.com. When you get there, you will see a little pop-up right there. It's in green. Click on there, put in your information, your name and your email, and that will come to our team. And so we can put you on the mailing list so you can know exactly what's happening, what's on and popping when I'm doing a new show, what's the next episode, or even if you want to be a guest on the show or something like that, hey, we can get that hooked up, right? So I want to understand that if you will get plugged in, get on the website, AndrewGuySpeaks.com, put your information in, and I want to give you this disclaimer. Listen, man, we're not going to use your information for anything else other than to communicate with you, to tell you what's coming up, events, information, products that we may have that's launching out there. That's basically all we're going to use it for. We're not going to give your information to any third party because that's not what we do. We don't roll like that. Does that make sense? I respect your privacy, and guess what? I don't want somebody to do that to me. And so I'm not going to do it to you. All right. That's my disclaimer. You got it here. It's live. It's recorded. So I want you to have, that's my word. Okay. Does that make sense? So get out there, get to AndrewGuySpeaks.com, and please subscribe. My subscription level is really low and I want to grow my subscription. And that's the reason why I started to do the live podcast, because I realized that had not been doing it before. I have been busy on the road doing my talks and so forth, my workshop. And I realized, wow, guys, I need to start doing some live events where people will understand that I am coming on at a certain time, and hence I'm listening, I'm ready. It took me a while to figure out what in the world should I name my podcast, because there's so many other things. There, Mastermind Monday, there's so many things. And Well, I wanted to be a little different. I want to represent me. And I wanted to go even bigger than me and to dig deep and find out why are people not accomplishing what they're supposed to accomplish in this life. I'm not talking about the other life. I only know about this life. And you know why? Because they're not listening and they're not ready. They're not listening and they're not ready. That's why. Now, what does that simply mean, Andrew? Well, I'm listening and I'm ready. I always talk about this when I do talks, when I'm on the road doing corporate workshops. And one of the things that comes up is that what's the difference between hearing and listening? Well, simply hearing is a function of the tympanic membrane and the auditory nerves. Does that make sense? It's the things that makes the physical ears work. Period. That's what it is. That's hearing. And anyone who has an ear or have ears will hear, providing all plumbing, the physical plumbing is working. Does that make sense? Anyone who has it will hear. Now, there's a difference between hearing and listening. Listening now is a skill. It doesn't matter if I am at the top of my voice because I'm really excited in the morning, or I am just whispering because I really want you to get the meaning of what I'm trying to say. And if I bring it really low, that means, God, you are fully engaged and you are listening. Listening is a skill whereby you understand the information that was given and you can take that information and use it practically to make a decision for your life. Listening, my friend, it's a skill. And not everyone has this skill or has developed this skill. So listening is a skill. Does that make sense? So this is why I named the podcast I'm Listening, I'm Ready, because I have to be listening. I can hear something, but listening means that I am actively involved. I'm interacting with what I'm hearing. So I am listening. First, I have to listen. And then after I listen, I take the information. And then guess what? I got to make a decision. And I have to be ready to make the changes to transform my life. This is why I'm listening. I'm ready with Andrew E. Guy. That's how the podcast came up. And I want to help you to listen so you can hear what you need to hear and take the action steps to transform your life. All right, let's rock and roll. So I was on the topic of showing you the difference between a religion and a relationship. The reason why we're talking about religion and relationship this morning is because we're now talking about the wellness wheel. And the wellness wheel basically have all these different compartments. And for those people who need a quick and easy way to remember it, it's simply this. It's called S square, E square, P, and F. S square is spiritual and social. Those are the S's. And then the E is for emotional and environment. And the P is for physical. And the actual F is for finance. All right. And so we're talking about spiritual. We're starting right off the top. Today we talked about spiritual and we jump into religion. We talk about why religion separates people. But the part that I want to make sure I clarify and emphasize this morning is the relationship part. All right. If you're ready, let's rock and roll. I haven't jumped over to Facebook yet and see what's going on over there. I don't know if there people are on. I'm sorry, I'm having some trouble playing the video. Da, 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 da. Right, I see. Okay, I think. All right. Well, I don't see anything on Facebook. I think that's already stopped. Said that it has trouble playing the video. Okay. So let me go back up here. All right. There. And then it says there. Everything is good there. Viewing. Use camera. All right. Here we go. So let's continue to rock and roll here. All right. So we're talking about how do we understand the difference between a religion versus a relationship. And I broke it down and I talk about all of these different components. I used the automobile and I used the computer and I talked about the chip. I talk about the motherboard. I didn't talk about the memory, but the memory is part of it. And I talk about the actual framework of the computer. I talked about the hard drive, and I talk about the physical casing of the computer. And I went into talk about the automobile. I talk about the engine. I mean, I didn't even go into talking about the gas tank. I didn't talk about the tires. I didn't talk about the windshield. I didn't talk about the seats. I didn't talk about the actual gear stick. I didn't even talk about the lights. I didn't talk about the electronics. I didn't even go into that. That is so vast. That is deep. But I want you to see what's happening. That religion is the label. Religion is the label that separates people. Okay. Relationship. Relationship is the connectivity between the physical and the spiritual. Does that make sense? Spirituality then is the relationships, it's the interconnected relationship between the compartments and the creator. That's what the spirituality is. This is why it's about a relationship. Relationship is about the connectivity, the connection. Let me break it down. So we have a computer, okay? But we have a motherboard. And the motherboard basically houses the actual processor. And then the motherboard also houses the memory stick or the memory chips, right? The motherboard also have everything that the computer is going to need for processing. Not only does it have everything that has to do with the processing, but the actual motherboard is needed for the hard drive to connect into by way of a cable. And so let's zoom out a little wider. We went deep. We talk about the processor. We zoomed out. We talk about the motherboard. And then we zoomed out. We talk about all the components that are on the motherboard. And then we zoomed out. We talk about what is connected to the motherboard. And now we're going to zoom out and we're going to talk about the casing that the actual motherboard sits in or dwells in. We're going to zoom out, and then we're going to talk about now when everything is inside the casing and you enclose the case, that you also have to worry about your video cards. All of these things get connected onto the motherboard. And if we zoom out, then we'll have a computer. But wow, how do I get to see what the computer is saying? How do I get to understand that piece about the computer is saying something? The computer is this. Whoa, did you say display? That's exactly right. So I need to have a monitor. A monitor connects to the actual computer video card, and the video card is connected to the motherboard, and the motherboard basically is connected to the processor, and all of these things are what? Processed by the processor, so you can visualize and see what the computer is saying. What does all sum up to? What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like a religion? It sounds like a relationship. So here's why. Because if you don't have the right plug or the right fitting, then guess what? The component will not be able, they're not compatible. They won't be able to connect to the motherboard. That's why you got to have a relationship. Relationship with your creator simply means I am on the right frequency. I understand him. He understands me. Will I know everything about my creator? No, that's what living is about, because every day is new mercies we see. Every day, new experience we have. Every day we grow a little more. Every day we expand a little more in our intellectual, in our skill set. All of these things we expound in. Now, a lot of people say, but Andrew, also on the wellness wheel, there is intellectual. Yeah, that's intellectual. I'm going to get into that later on. Okay. But we're dealing with spiritual right now. So the purpose of this is to help you to understand without relationship, your computer won't even work. Without relationship, your car won't even work, because you have an engine, but the engine needs to be powered by something. We call that a battery. Battery is connected to the actual engine, and then this empowers everything. And here's what's happening. Yes, you may have a battery, but if you have a battery and don't have an alternator, then guess what? You cannot get that recurring energy, or should I say the reproduction of power. So when we think about the engine, there are other components that play a role inside the generation of power, the continuous regeneration of power as you drive down the street. When you drive down the street, guess what's happening? The alternator is basically generating power to do what? Charge the battery. So when the battery is charged now, when you go to start the car up on another day, or when you shut off the engine after driving, it's now able to start because you've stored power that is generated by the alternator, which keeps the battery charged. What does that sound like to you? Does that sound like a religion? No, that sounds like a relationship. And if the battery is not charged, it doesn't matter how far I want to go. It doesn't matter if the alternator is good, then the car will not start, because a good alternator charges the battery. It's just like the Bible said, a good father leaves an inheritance for their children's children. So the alternator could be the daddy that charges the actual battery and leaves an inheritance of charge for the battery. So when you need the battery again, it's able to start. I know that metaphor was way out there. Some people will get it and some people won't. But if you don't, I'm still cool with it. All right. I want you to understand, the religion is what's separating us. The religion is what's killing us. The religion and racism, I now view as a religion, because it comes to kill, to steal, and to destroy the lives of human beings. It's a shame, but that's what's happening. All right. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get out of here because right now is 1 hour and 40 minutes and 57 seconds. And we've been going at this hard. We've been digging into this aspect of the wellness wheel. You're listening to Andrew Guy on the podcast. I'm listening. I'm ready. With your host, Andrew E. Guy. The podcast is dedicated for those who are on the on the go. Where are you going? You listen, you've heard, and you're now ready to make changes in your life. So you've got to go. You got to go to your destination. There's a quote that my wife has given me, and it's probably on my other board. It says, go confident in the direction of your dream. I want to encourage you today. I want to encourage you to go in the direction of your dream. But don't just go. I want you to go confidently into the direction of your dreams. You're going to have some naysayers in your life. You're going to have some cheerleaders in your life. Focus more on the cheerleaders and neglect the naysayers. The cheerleaders are just like think of milk in a cup and there's froth on the top. The liquid in the bottom or underneath the froth, it pushes the actual foam up, right? The cheerleaders are the fluid in the bottom that pushes you up, encourages you. The naysayers, they basically suck the fluid from underneath you so your froth or your foam falls. The foam or the froth represents your self-esteem, represents your productivity, represents your drive, represents your motivation, represents your inspiration. And that's what the froth represents. And if you don't have the right liquid underneath your froth or foam, guess what? It begins to sink. It begins to dissipate. You want to have the right people around you, because the right people are like fertilizers. The wrong people take away from you. They don't add to you. They don't sow into your life. They just take. So I want you to understand that as we look at this, the wellness wheel, the components, there are more components to the wellness wheel than you can think of. But I want you to understand that, understanding that one aspect of the wellness wheel, as we talk about today, is your spiritual wellness. And what does it mean? It's not a religion. It's about a relationship between the compartments, like I used the metaphor of the computer, the compartments of the computer that makes the computer works in its totality. That's what it's about. The computer is no good with just the motherboard. The computer is no good with just the processor. The computer is no good with just a hard drive. The computer is no good with just the video card. The computer is no good with just the memory chip. The computer is no good with just the cables, the HDMI cables and so forth, and a capture card. It's no good if it doesn't have somewhere to hose it in. It's no good if you don't have a monitor to see exactly what's happening within the computer. All of these things are interdependent. That's the key word. That's the missing word of today. Interdependency. This is what relationship is about. That means I need you to be at your greatest so I can be at my greatest, so we can help our greatness to supply the needs of each other, so we can meet the demand in the marketplace. Believe you me, my grandmother once says, believe you me, that there is a demand out there in the marketplace, and you create the actual product to solve the problem. You are a solutionist to a problem. Okay, so if you want to understand your purpose, the first place to start is to really, man, talk to your creator. Right? I think pray to your creator. And I'm not talking about no 200 hour prayer. I'm talking having a meaningful conversation, sit down in the mirror, look at yourself, and first of all, just be thankful for who you are, thankful that you can move, thankful that you can live, thankful for what you have, your breath, your breathing, your livelihood. Just be thankful that everything is working and your plumbing is working and everything is working. Be thankful for that. And then ask him, I said, I know I was created for something. I know I was created for a purpose. What is that purpose? Help me to discover that. I know I'm good at some things. I know that I'm not good at certain things. I know that there's some skills that need to be developed. Help me to see that. Help me by bringing the right people around me to facilitate the things or the assignments that you have for me to do before the actual spirit leaves the physical body. And we always ask this in no other name but in Jesus' name, and we say amen. Now, most people say, why Jesus? Because we learned that Jesus is the Son of God who came back to save us. More on that in another time. But I want you to understand the spiritual aspect of the wellness wheel. Yes, you have to be aware first. You have to accept you as a human being and accept other people